Hello, my friends. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cause TV and the Cause Green audio experience. However, you're consuming this interview today, I am so excited. I'm sporting my rugby gear. I've been the voice of the Utah Warriors for 4 years now, and that's been an absolute honor and blessing. So grateful to be involved in the world of rugby. And speaking about rugby, this is a special rugby edition on the show. And we're focused today on the 2024 Paris Olympics and specifically the women's 7 team. So my guest, we're not going to waste any time. Let's just jump right into this. My guest today is a 2024 Paris Olympics bronze medalist. Maybe she's even wearing the medal if we're lucky. She blew up the world of sports with her electrifying run in the bronze medal matchup against Australia. There's no way to say it. Then when I've shared that clip with others, they actually just get flabbergasted. I mean, it's just, you cannot script a finish like that any better. She was born in Orem, Utah. She's going to tell you the story about that. And she's a proud graduate of Harriman High School. Go Mustangs. She's married to her husband, Keagan. They've been married for 4 years now, and they reside in San Diego. And she tells me that they have a beautiful fur baby that's right there on her lap. Her fur baby is Zeplin. My friends, let's welcome Olympic medalist Alex Spiff Sedrick to the program. Spiff,
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for joining us and letting us have you. I know you're busy. Are you tired of all these interviews yet?
It's a lot back and forth, but it's, what we've been asking for, people to watch our games and become fans of our team. So yeah, it's been fun.
Oh, I can't imagine a better ambassador for the sport of women's rugby right now than you. So ride this bus while you can.
Yeah, I have a lot of teammates that do like a lot of social media platform stuff. So they've definitely brought in a lot of fans to our team.
Good. Well, that 20-second clip could not do more for women's rugby than it has. I mean, that thing has been played and replayed, and NBC is definitely getting their clicks out of that replay. We were fortunate a week ago Saturday. You and I hung out together at Harriman High School. You had a signing, and we allowed fans and folks to come by and play touch rugby there at your alma mater, Harriman High School. So in the pre-show, we were talking about where you were born and everything, and I just said Salt Lake City. That's what it said on Wikipedia and doing my research. And you said, no, I was born in Orem, Utah. And I said, what? And then you told me how you were born. And I'll tell you, you're faster than me. I was born in the front seat of a 1965 Ford Falcon station wagon on the way to the hospital. You didn't make it to the car. Tell us that story, how you got here.
My mom was having labor pains, and I'm the second oldest, so she was like, the baby's coming right now. And my grandma was like, no, I think, we have a little bit more time. She's like, she's coming right now. And she tried to get into the car, and she had one foot in the car and one foot in the driveway. And I just shot right out and rolled under the car. And, end of February in Utah, it's like snowing, and she's wheeling me in by my umbilical cord. And, they snipped it, took me to the hospital. I ended up fine.
So you went to the hospital in the car, still attached with your umbilical cord.
Yeah, I'm not sure when they cut it, but that's how she pulled me in. I had rolled underneath the car, but it ended up being fine. Bonked your head. Kids are tough.
So you've been making highlight reels the day you got here.
Yeah, I guess so. I would consider that to be my mom's highlight reel. Just
that's true, but you were involved. That's amazing. You didn't even make it in the car.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I don't know what kind of car it was. I have no idea.
Yeah, you didn't do your research.
No.
That's still amazing though. So 1998, February of 1998. That was a pretty big winter. So there was some snow on the ground in Orem, Utah.
You lived in Utah then?
I did.
Oh wow.
That's actually the year my son was born. He was born in June of 1998. So you're the same age as my son.
Beat him too.
You beat him, but you're faster than Ben by 6 months too.
Yeah.
Give us a little history then. You were born in Utah, you moved around.
Yeah, I was adopted, and I was mostly raised in California. So we moved between Fresno and Corona a few different houses in Riverside, and then moved to Texas, and then ended up moving to Utah. I did high school in Utah at Harriman, obviously. And that's when I started playing rugby. I was dual sporting in volleyball and rugby. And then my junior year, I just started playing rugby year round. And then I went on to play in college in Atlanta, Georgia at Life University. And right after college, there was that whole COVID pandemic. Everyone kind of moved home. I kept training. And then that fall, I was invited into a residency for the national team in San Diego.
All right, so let's talk about high school rugby. So I announced there at Zions Bank Stadium, right
Oh,
there
cool.
in good old Harriman.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying, what? What? There's women who play rugby. So let's talk about
Yeah.
that and talk about the sport of women's rugby. Because so I, for the last number of years, have done the state tournament out there at Zions Bank Stadium.
Oh,
And
cool.
two of the games are the state tournament for women's rugby 15s.
Mhm.
So let's talk about women's rugby a little bit. Talk about the sport in general. For those who have never watched rugby before, they don't know what they're missing. Hopefully, you can get them hooked on it. So let's
Yeah.
talk about what is rugby and how it's different than American football, and then how women's rugby is actually even a little different.
Yeah, so every time that I say I play rugby to someone who's not as familiar, I get like a few different responses. Usually I get like, "Oh, I didn't know women play that sport." And it's like, "Well, yeah, it's the same rules, same ball, same field dimensions as the men's game. It's just like people don't know that women play it." And then the other one is, "Oh, that's the one with the sticks." And it's like, "No, that's lacrosse." But yeah, I get a lot of comparisons that rugby is like a mix between soccer and American football. Now, I don't know anything about soccer, but my husband's a huge football fan, so I feel like I know a little bit. But basically, with rugby, you can only pass laterally or backwards. You can't drop the ball forward. There's like set piece scrums. This strategy is just so different, and I think that American fans would really get behind rugby because it's way faster than football. Not that like the athletes are faster, but like the game just flows way quicker, and there's not as much stoppage of play. And the halves are only 7 minutes long, so it's like anything can happen within 7 minutes. Whereas like an entire football game, they might be going back and forth, but it might take a little bit longer to get into. Whereas I think a lot of the feedback that we get from our new American fans is that it's just so fast and physical, which is, kind of the wheelhouse of American athletes.
Yeah, for those who have never watched it before, the thing I love about rugby is the non-stoppage of play.
Yeah.
They don't blow the whistle, they don't down the ball, you don't huddle, there's not any of that nonsense. It's just fast moving. So
Yeah.
talk about the difference between sevens and 15 though, sevens
Yeah.
and 15s, and that whole 7-minute half that a match is 15 minutes, 14 minutes plus the half. I mean, that is just so fast paced.
Yeah, it's some people consider it like two different games, which it kind of is in terms of like strategy, and how you would select a team and basically just how you would attack and defend. But sevens has 7 people per team with 5 on the bench. You're allowed 5 movements between the bench and the field, and again, 2-minute halftime. It's just way faster. And in the sevens tournament, you can play up to 3 games in one day. Whereas 15s, they're usually like at least a week apart, 15 people per side, 40-minute halves. And I think it's 10-minute halftime. I don't know. It's been
Yeah,
years since
10
I've
minutes.
played
Yeah.
15s. But yeah, that game is like kind of the more traditional version of rugby, and that's usually what we see with like the national teams. Usually are really put a lot of money into their 15s program, and we've seen the World Cups. I think that there's the difference is that like that one is more again the traditional game. So I feel like people think that sevens is like fake rugby, which we get that sometimes. Like you don't even play real rugby, and it's like, oh well, it's the same game. But yeah, it's 15s is
There's
definitely
no
not.
less hitting, there's no less anything in
Yeah,
sevens rugby.
yeah. I guess it's just shorter, and they're like, no, it's just a bunch of backs playing. I'm like,
Oh,
well,
okay.
still playing.
Well, get them out there with you and have them try to keep up and
Yeah.
see if it's any different, right? They really did try to tackle you, right?
Yeah.
Come on, it is what it is. Rugby is a physical sport. We say in men's rugby, a hooligan sport played by gentlemen.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you the 15s of women's that I've been able to announce, there's no less vigor, enthusiasm, stamina, and effort in women's rugby than there is in men's
Mhm.
rugby. I mean, I take my hat off to you and thank you. Look at that. Look at that
Oh,
signature
yeah.
you have right there. Yeah, I'm never gonna wash the brim of my hat again.
Oh,
Thanks for the signature. I hope it
oh,
lasts a while. We may have to have you sign it again, but
I'll be
anyway,
back soon.
hey, it's a tough sport. Talk about the physicalness of rugby.
Yeah, I think, I was pretty spoiled when I was in high school because I'm, like, a very average size, so I was never like, oh, the smallest on the team or the biggest on the team, so it's just like everyone was kind of the same size until I went on to college, and then there were some big girls, and to some people, I was a big girl, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is okay, now I have to hit, like, you know, on the borderline of being, like, grown women because it's like you're past the high school years of, like, everyone's just kinda running around and playing, and now it's like I'm actually having to tackle this and, like, my college team, we would play a lot of WPL teams, which had, like, older women. I'm like, "I have to hit this 40-year-old woman, and she is so strong, and she has so many years of experience." So, I mean, yeah, the physicality of it all is just like you got to take care of your body. There was times when I wouldn't have to warm up for practice and I could just run right out on the field and do a 90-minute session. These days, I'm in the prehab room at least 45 minutes before each session doing my exercises. Our AT, Nicole Titmus, she's got this whole program for me. I gotta warm up a while. I gotta oil up all my joints and get moving. And
Wow,
and
at
I mean, I'm only
26.
26, and it's like
Holy whip.
it ages your body, I guess.
What was it like playing high school rugby? Because not very many people know about rugby, let alone women's high school rugby. Was that just a different experience than, say, the volleyball or other female athletes play basketball and, those
Mhm.
get followed a lot. But
Yeah.
rugby's rugby's barely catching on. We forget that rugby's only been as a professional sport in the United States for 6 years. The league's been around. So a lot of people
Oh,
don't
wow.
know about rugby. I mean,
Yeah.
our last match we did at America First Field where Real Salt Lake plays, we had
Mhm.
11,000 fans. But
Oh,
if
that's nice.
people really understood, we should fill that stadium every single time. But people just don't know about don't know about rugby.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of competition between other sports, like the ones that we usually hear for women is like dance, soccer, basketball, even softball, track. And a lot of people I feel like are steered away from that, especially because it is a male dominant sport because of how physical it is. And you think about like other female contact sports, like I don't know if field hockey is considered contact sport, but like those girls are really tough. Wrestlers, obviously, super tough. So it's like I guess rugby is just not the first one that people think about when they want to play a game that has those components of physicality. But yeah, it's definitely a sport that so many crossover athletes could pick up at any age, at any stage, and possibly go to the Olympics. A lot of my teammates didn't start playing until after college.
Hmm.
I'm one of the few that started playing in high school just because not a lot of programs in America have high school rugby. So I think to play high school rugby where I did in the Utah community is the Utah rugby community is so small that my very first year there was only 4 teams, and one was in St. George and three were like in the valley. So we would have to just play the same 3 teams over and over and over again. But the next year they had like more interest in other schools, and I think it went up to like 7 teams. And then the next year there was like I think 11, and then by my senior year I think it dipped a little bit again, but just to see the ebbs and flow of like interest in the sport surrounded by, big events like the Olympics, like the 2016 Olympics, 2014 World Cup. It's just kind of interesting to see what people will latch onto, like what moment for them is like, oh, I want to get into rugby, and this is going to be the acting or basically the action to get me there, and then to hold on to the ball throughout college or if they want to play in college, if not college, then club, and then next steps.
So when you were dual athlete as far as volleyball and rugby, what motivated you to just choose rugby? And were you cautioned by other people not to play rugby? Was that ever a
Um,
consideration? Or I mean, who got you into rugby? That's not something every little girl grows up to play.
yeah. So started playing volleyball first in the fall of my freshman year, and one of my teammates' sisters was telling us that she was basically on a rugby team and they didn't have enough girls, and if they didn't get enough people coming out to practice, then the principal was basically going to say that they weren't allowed to have a program because there just wouldn't be enough students for it. So me and my friend went, and I got absolutely rocked. I got flattened right on my back. It hurt so bad, and I was like, this
Tell
is
us about
stupid.
that.
I was like, "Why am I doing this? I don't have to get hit, like, ever, so and I have to run." Like, that was the other thing is I asked how big the field was, and they were like first of all, they told me in meters, me, an American. I'm like, "What's a meter?" But they were like, "It's 70 meters by 100 meters," and I was like, "Is that bigger or smaller than a football field?" And they were like, "It's bigger." I was like, "Why would I wanna run more than football players?" But you know what? I went, I did not love it. A lot of people say that, they're like, "Oh, rugby, I, like, love at first play," or whatever. I'm like, "No, I did not love it." I was like, "This actually kind of sucks," but I was doing a favor for a friend, so I was like, "Okay, I'll just hang around," and then became really close with the team. Some of my best friends I've met through playing rugby, so that was a way for me to be able to hang out with my friends, like, every day basically and just play outside, and get to travel too, so I just kept going back. And then I was about 2 days before high school graduation when the then head coach, Richie Walker, asked me where I was going to college, and I told him I didn't wanna go to college, and he was like, "Well, that's ridiculous. You have to go to college in order to play for the national team. I needed more, like, high level experience than what high school was giving me at the moment." So he was like, "Name a college, and I will get you a scholarship, and it'll be fine, and you'll go." I ended up going to Life, and Coach Roz was amazing there. She really advocated for me to do any of the outside things that I wanted to do involving rugby. She released me several times from the Life roster to be able to go and do high performance camps in Chula Vista.
Tell us a little bit more about your college experience then at Life University. Did
It
you have a
was
broader experience with teams around the country, or was it pretty regional?
um, even I would say in college, there was like 4 big colleges for rugby. It was my school, Life University, Central Washington, and Lindenwood, and at the time it was Penn State. And those were like the big schools. Those were always the top 4. I think BYU snuck in there one year. I know Quinnipiac and the Ivies were very good, but we didn't play in the same division as them. So even like as I was saying in high school, when we only had like 4 teams, we just keep playing each other. In college, we had to play other schools basically just to like get more game experience, but they wouldn't necessarily be at the same caliber as like the top 4 that we would play. So we'd go into these quarterfinals and semifinals and win these games by like a triple digits sometimes, like a
Were they
ridiculous amount.
always sevens or were they 15s?
I played both 15s and 7s, but the drastic difference was more so in 15s.
How
And
so?
it's just like the gap between the teams who get maybe less funding, less resources, have less consistent rosters, and like the high level programs like those 4 schools that I mentioned, the score line would just be divided by, sometimes triple digits. And
Wow.
that's like pretty tough as a program to lose by that much, like some of these teams that we were beating, because these girls, they want to learn the game, they want to play at a high level. They just don't have all the resources and like experience and reps to basically put up really strong competition against it. So we'd go into these quarterfinals and win by so much, and then we get into the
Give us an
semis. And
example. What was so much?
I think one time we beat a team like 167 to, I'm pretty sure it was like 0. And it
Oh
was
my.
like at that point, it was like almost it's like not even that fun because it's just like you want the other team to like not fold, but like how do you get beat by that much and then just be like to not throw in the towel. But we after every game, like, we always have a social where we eat together and, like, mingle with the team and stuff, and they're always, like, good sports about it, and those situations where, like, probably only a couple times this season. Other times we play, like, WPL teams where it'd be much closer, and then, again, those top 4, that was always, like, decided by a conversion or, like, 1 try or so.
All right, you're gonna have listeners say, "What the heck is a try?" So just explain the scoring in rugby really quick, and I won't.
Okay, so a try is basically like the equivalent to like an American football touchdown, but you actually have to physically put the ball on the ground and
You
create
touch it
downward
down?
pressure. Yeah,
Hence the
basically.
word.
Yeah, and so that a try is worth 5 points, and wherever you score the try, you can back up as far as you want infield, and that's where you have to take the conversion from. So if you're like 5 meters to the right of the uprights when you score, that's the same plane that you have to back up on. A conversion kick is a drop goal, and it must touch the ground before striking, and that's worth 2 points.
Is there a three-pointer?
There is, but it's only on penalties. So if they get a penalty in front of the uprights, or any place that they want to take the kick from, some people are real brave and they'll have a a penalty on the far edge and they'll back themselves to slot it. And again, just a drop kick, and that's 3 points.
Yeah, that's a tough kick when you score a try over by the touch line
Yeah,
and you're kicking it from, 20 meters out. I mean, that makes that conversion zone so tiny. People just
yeah,
need to watch more rugby and
yeah.
get into it.
Watch it, yeah.
It's an
I
exciting.
mean, even if you don't understand every single rule there is, you can tell the flow of, like, what teams are trying to do. Usually, sometimes I watch my team, I'm like, "I don't even know if we know what we're trying to do in this particular play," but, yeah, rugby just has a flow to it that I don't feel like, a lot of other sports
No.
have that will, like the, conversion rate of, like, possession to points is so much quicker than, soccer. I
Yeah,
feel
there
like
are no
there's
1-0 scores in
yeah.
rugby.
And I feel like basketball, like, there's so many turnovers involved, and it's like go, 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 with still, like, quite a bit of stoppage for, like, free throws and, out of bounds stuff, but
TV timeout.
sevens is just go and go entire time.
Well, that's exciting. That's fun. Everybody wants to talk about the Olympics, so let's talk about the Olympics.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about your preparation for the 2024 Summer Olympic Games in Paris and what you were thinking before you even went over.
We basically has been looking at this entire year as a preparation for this tour. So we started the season with having 11 tours, which is very unusual. Usually we only have, like, I want to say 7. So we did add in quite a few scrimmages or like friendlies with other countries. At the beginning of the season, we went to Fiji, and there we
Oh,
played France, Fiji, Australia, New Zealand. And at the time, that was the top 5 teams on the series, and we did a little scrimmage, like tournament style, with them. That went really well. It gave us a lot of good learnings. Then we came back and we had Pan Ams, which was an amazing experience. That was my first experience being able to play at a multi-sport event for Team USA, which was really fun because you get to see like a lot of the other athletes, and other sports and how they do the village, and basically just be in that environment that I was hoping to be in Paris. But yeah, that was really great. We got gold. We beat Canada in the final match. Great Canadian team. They've built so much throughout the entire season, and we were able to get ahead of them, I think, by 2 tries, and so we got gold, which is what we went to do. So that was like basically mission accomplished. Then we're going into our HSBC 7 series, which a lot of people don't know is a World Series that we play from November until June, and there's a tournament almost like every few weeks, sometimes back to back, and they're all on Peacock. So everyone watch us. It's a lot of fun. Everyone's like talking about like, oh, I hope I get to watch at the next Olympics. I'm like, watch in a few months because we play year round. So the first tournament of the series is Dubai, and that's actually the tournament I debuted in 2021. And then we go straight to Cape Town the next weekend. Have some
from
time off.
Dubai, right to Cape Town.
Yeah, that
Wow,
travel
that's
is
a challenge.
hell. Like, that's probably the worst one. It's 18 hours from LAX to Dubai, and then it's about 10 hours from Dubai to Cape Town, and then when we fly back home, we have to go back through Dubai. So it ends up being a really long travel day.
Wow. That's not a travel day. That's a travel week.
Travel days, yeah. Yeah, so we didn't do as well as we would have liked in Dubai. We dropped a few games that we had no business dropping. And then Cape Town, we turned it around and put ourselves in a position to medal, but we just dropped the bronze medal to New Zealand, another great team on the series. That's the thing about a lot of the teams is you can, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you can look at college football and be like, oh, this team should be this team, or you know, this team should be in the quarterfinals or in the top 8 or whatever. Whereas like with how competitive the women's game is at the moment and the men's game as well, but how competitive sevens is and how little time there is to make mistakes and then recover from those mistakes, anything can happen in sevens. And I think that's like something that our fans will also like, because there's never like, oh, this is predicted, they're going to blow them out like 40-0. But yeah, we did Cape Town, we did a little bit better. And then come the new year, we really just tried to build brick by brick and lay our foundation, take actions guided by our values, and try to get, some momentum going. We did not have a great Perth or Vancouver. LA was a good defensive tournament for us, but flipped. Attacking wise, it was okay. Defensively, it was scary. We just underperformed in some areas that led to us not being able to be in the gold medal match. We were able to secure a bronze on our own home tournament, which was cool. And then Hong Kong, we were able to get second against New Zealand. That was a crazy tournament just because I feel like Hong Kong is the point in the season. It's in April, and it's in the point in the season where if you're tired, you've been tired for 2 months. If you're managing an injury, it's like it's to the point where you just have to hang on for a little bit longer because the season's almost over. It's kind of the tournament where I feel like you can tell how well people's conditioning and recovery has come into play the entire season. And again, I'm not even sure what tournament that was for us because of the 2 preseason tournaments that we had. So that one was a big one for us to come away with a silver. Kind of gave us some confidence in where we sit at this point in the season, and how we've been able to work with each other to kind of get those results. And then Singapore, we left some girls at home resting, and we had opportunities for some new girls to get capped, which is amazing. Really happy for all the girls who.
Our viewers are not going to know what a cap is, so
Oh yeah,
explain
sorry.
it.
Yeah, a cap is basically like, well, they used to give like actual caps, like a hat, to players who were playing for the very first time or making their very first roster. In the sevens community, we do blazers, and the blazer will have a USA crest on it. And if it's white, you have like, I think it's your first cap to your 29th cap. And then for the women on 30 caps, you get a gold lined crest. So that's kind of like our special thing, whereas 15s, they do caps. Even though we still call them caps, we just we just do blazers instead. But yeah, we had Singapore, we had a couple new caps, which is really exciting to get those girls out on, the world stage. And they didn't go as well as they would have liked, but we turned it around really quickly for Madrid. And we did a preseason in Bayonne, or a pre-game in Bayonne, and it went pretty well. We did Fiji, France, and Ireland and us, and we ended up coming out of that tournament in first. But again, that was like the scrimmage one. In Madrid, I think we came in 5th in Madrid, which was super disappointing.
You did some serious globetrotting in preparation for the 2024 game.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just like a lot of travel here, play this tournament, come back home, refine the little things, travel to this country, play in this tournament, come back, refine the little things. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of repetitions. It's a lot of just details.
Take us to France. Take us to Paris. You walk
Yeah.
out in the Olympic Stadium. It's the opening ceremonies. You're representing your home country, the United States. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, so we actually did a pre-camp in Tours, which is a couple hours south of France or south of Paris. And we did a week there. We did a little like touch scrimmage with Ireland. That was really fun. The Irish team's amazing group of girls. We stayed at this really cute hotel and we just had some time to relax and kind of be together as a team before we get into that, the energy that Paris holds. Being a couple hours out of the city was nice because we didn't feel like we were playing the games before we had to play the games, which is really important for us because a lot of the work that my team tries to do is like around staying present and thinking about the actions that you can take in the present moment to put yourself towards the goal that we're all trying to get to. So that camp was really nice. The bus ride to Paris was supposed to be like 2 hours, ended up being 4. I think we got lost. But we went straight to the High Performance Center, which is Team USA specific, their facilities. So their dining hall, their gym, their meeting rooms, their fields, their tracks, and their welcome experience, which is like something that not a lot of my teammates got to do last time in Tokyo because of COVID. So this time it was really special for not just the 5 girls who this is their first Olympics, but for everyone who went to the Olympics in Tokyo and hadn't gone in Rio, and they were able to have this entire experience. So they bring us in, split us up into groups, and they basically take us around all these different booths that have like gifts for the athletes. So that was really cool just to see how many people were so excited to be giving us something. Like they wanted to gift us these products that they wanted us to have, just as like an award for making it to the Olympics. And I'm sure like a little bit of PR, like all the Olympians are wearing Oakleys or they're all wearing Skims and Nike and stuff. But yeah, we go into dressing rooms. They'd had it all decked out for us with like our sizes and put our name up on the mirror. And that we had fittings with Nike and Ralph Lauren, and they had like designers come out and talk about like why certain pieces had certain elements to it, which was really cool. Like our medal stand uniforms, which you can only wear like if you medal. Um, they have little holes on the chest across the top, and that's supposed to reflect like stars when the lights from the field are coming down on you. So anytime you see an athlete on the podium, like it's kind of to resemble like stars. So which is really cool, stars and stripes. But yeah, it was a huge like just injection of energy and not a whole lot of nerves, which was nice because the welcome experience, everyone was so nice and so helpful and so excited to have us there. And then we went to the village, and that's like every country, every athlete. Team USA house was amazing, and my dorm was great. I had a balcony. My roommate Elena, she was awesome. We just kind of try to organize all our stuff. You get so much new stuff that you're just trying to find a place for all of it.
Yeah, I'm imagining you took many empty suitcases to take all the swag home.
Well, they give us suitcases.
Oh,
So like
nice.
we
Of
all
course
tried to
they do.
pack super light so that we wouldn't have to be holding like a bunch of extra bags and stuff.
Samsonite, the official luggage of the 2024 Olympics. Something. Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Let's talk about your sevens competition. I've got the schedule up there on the screen. Take us through those 4 matches that led you to the bronze.
So we had pool play with France, the home team. I've never been booed in my entire life that loud, but it wasn't
Really?
like, yeah, I mean, the French fans are so passionate and they're so loud. They really show up for their girls. It was really cool to experience, like, even though they're cheering against me, I'm still like, oh my God, I'm so happy for the French team to be able to experience, like, because we had our home tournament in LA and the turnout was like not super great, which was like,
Well, give us a
I mean,
comparison. So, what would be the turnout for you in LA versus the Olympics for the
oh,
French?
I don't wanna say the wrong number, but I know
Oh,
on day
guess.
3, we had 69,000 fans, in the stands, which was set a new world record for a women's rugby event, which is amazing. And, a big portion of those people are definitely cheering for the home team. But when we were in LA, stands were pretty empty. I don't know the final head count of
So crazy in comparison.
yeah, but I'm sure probably less than 10,000, I think, for LA.
Wow.
So like even to be booed, I was still just so happy to be in that environment and be like, oh my God, I'm so happy for the French team. Like they get to experience this with their home fans, which is incredible. But yeah, the France game,
So the French won
yeah.
31-14 in your pool play.
Yeah, that was pretty tough go. I watched it back and it's like hard to determine where exactly the first thing to go wrong was, and then the second, and then the third. Obviously, we would have liked to keep that game a lot closer. We've beaten France multiple times throughout the season, and we did again in Bayonne right before Madrid. So it would have been nice to top that pool. But at the end of the day, pool play, which I feel like in a lot of other sports, they call it group play. It's only to determine your quarterfinal seeding. And we got Great Britain as a quarterfinal, which was a pretty interesting mental battle, I feel like, for a lot of the girls, because that's actually the same exact quarterfinal that the US had been knocked out of in Tokyo with Great Britain. So back in 2021 in Tokyo, they had topped their pool. They upset Australia in pool play, and they got the quarterfinal that, quote unquote, was a more like a desirable quarterfinal to have based off of their odds that they thought that they could beat GB. So they ended up losing. It was really heartbreaking. They had an amazing season leading up to it. So to drop a quarterfinal is like you're just out. Like there's no chance to squeeze your way back in. You can drop a pool play and it's going to be okay, but you drop a quarterfinal, you're out of medal contention, which is, heartbreaking.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then
And then,
you beat Great Britain. Now you head
mhm.
into New Zealand for the semi.
Oh yeah, 24-12. Yeah. Okay. That was a pretty crazy game. If I remember correctly, I think we were like at one point we were up by 5. I think at halftime it was 5-7. I think we got pinned down in our end on our back foot, so we would had to go 90 plus meters to make it to the try zone. While not impossible, is very difficult against a team as good as New Zealand. They have some raging line speed just coming off the line, really blitz defense style. They did well to shut us down, and we dropped that semifinal, which again, I feel like a lot of people don't know this is like you lose in a semifinal and or even a quarterfinal, you lose, you get to cry about it for about 5 seconds before you have to do your recovery, get some food in, and you have about an hour and a half until you have to warm up again and go all over again. And the next team you're playing doesn't care if you are sad about your loss. They don't care if you tried really hard or if you're really tired. They still want a medal. So I think like that's kind of the battle that people forget to look for or just don't think to look for when they're watching a bronze medal match is that at the end of the day, no one wants to play for bronze. They want to play for gold. And so when you're watching these teams, just like keeping in mind that they're still, in the back of their head, probably like mourning the loss of a gold medal while simultaneously still having to do the job.
Yeah, it's amazing emotions. All
Yeah.
right, so let's set this up then. You are headed to the bronze medal match against Australia. How good was Australia?
Australia was going really well. They looked amazing on the first day. They topped their pool. They had a bit of trouble. I mean, it seems with Canada in the semifinal, and Canada again, a great team. They were really physical. It's like it's so hard to say. Like sometimes people will say like whichever team wants it more will win. Whereas like I don't really agree with that phrase, I guess. But Canada, you could tell that they wanted it and they worked really, really hard for it. And that team again is just full of like so many hard workers and really deserving of their spot in the final. But Australia just I don't know. I'm not a coach. I'm not in charge. It just looked like they had gotten a couple details wrong that they usually don't get wrong. Usually very technically sound, tactically smart team. And like on that day, Canada was just better. So to kind of all flush that and just look at their games, because between games that we have, we'll scout with iPads, we'll scout the other team, so we'll see like, okay, this is where they're usually kicking their kickoffs, this is how many they're putting in the breakdown to contest the ball, these are some of the plays that they're running, and we have about an hour and a half to watch that before we have to prep for the next game. So we're watching their games. Looks pretty similar to like what we know to see from Australia. Their style of defense, their style of attack, very consistent team. So we knew that going into it, it was going to be really tough because we hadn't beat Australia this season yet. There was opportunities where we could have. Vancouver, we took them to Golden Point, just missed on the last detail. And then in LA, we took them to the final minute and they closed and we didn't. So we know all the time that with Australia, it's going to be a really close game. But it's not one of those things where it's like, it's impossible for us to win. And at times it can feel impossible with certain teams that like we haven't won in a while. So we knew that it was going to be a fight, but we were just trying to take it like one step at a time and really just not think too much about the outcome of like, okay, if we lose, we don't medal, or if we win, we medal. We try to remove ourselves from the outcome and just have like process oriented goals. And then if we follow those and if we are successful in our process, then we would medal.
So that's interesting. You focus on process, not the outcome. There's actually a lesson there. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think that we've seen in times when we only focus on the outcome, it's very black and white. And it's like, okay, if our only goal is to medal, then if we don't, then that's going to be really disappointing. And this entire mission will have been a loss and a failure. And this campaign would have been like for nothing. Versus whereas if we have, okay, here's the process goals. My goal this kickoff is to see the ball all the way into my hands and have like the correct staging and have the correct sourcing for a ruck and basically just all, rugby talk. So if we nail those things, then the outcome will be what we want it to because we did our basics right. You'd like to say that all the time, but I'm sure there's been games when a team's nailed their basics and still lost. But at the end of the day, we have to surrender what the outcome could be because we need to focus on the process of what we're doing.
Okay, so that's a theme word here on my program is surrender. That's a big word. What do you mean by surrender in your world?
I think it means just like not holding on to something so tightly that you're not able to like see other things that could be, in this specific case, it could be benefiting you. So like if I'm only like, I want to medal, then I might not be 100% focused on like, okay, I'm going to follow through on my pass, or I'm going to make sure I actually catch this ball. I'm going to get my tracking right. And it's not being very present, which is again a theme of my team is if I'm only thinking like I want to medal, it's like, okay, well, you can only medal when the final whistle blows. And if you're playing, like if in your head you're in the final whistle moment already, then you're not going to be present for the first minute, the next play. And I think that there's other like forms of surrendering expectations of how you think you should be performing or how others expect you to perform, and surrendering basically the ability to control what other people are doing. Anytime you work on a team sport, there's like an ideal teammate. They live by the values. They have a great attitude. They like never give up, try hard. And you always want to be that, but surrendering like basically the expectation of other people too, because you don't want to basically force people to do something. I don't know. It seems a lot of psychological work is done, and you can't be worried about everything all the time.
How do you think knowing this concept of focusing on process as opposed to just outcome and surrendering will serve you for the rest of your life?
Oh, it's so hard to say because I've never had a big girl job. I've never been out in the real world, as we call
Okay,
it.
just real life, so to speak. But
Yeah.
those are two important lessons, process,
Mhm.
or shall we say it this way, enjoying the journey, not just the destination, and then being
Yeah.
able to to know that not everything is within your control and you can surrender to something bigger than you.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard to think I'm ever gonna care about like if it's a corporate job or whatever is next in terms of like employment for me, that it's not rugby, because I think about like, okay, say I'm working an office job and I need to get this spreadsheet in by 5 p.m. Like, why would I care about that as much as I care about medaling at the Olympics, like with my best friends? So it's like, oh, I'm sure that's a lesson that can be learned, and I'm gonna find a way to apply it, but it's so hard to imagine like what that could look like for me, just because like my entire life has been this bubble of rugby, and this is what I've been doing since high school. So it almost feels like this is what it'll be forever for me. But your body won't do this game forever. And we do a lot of panels with companies that will come in and try to learn from our team. So they'll come and watch a training. We'll take them through some team building exercises. And something that I always find so interesting is that like these really successful executives and like business people aren't always the best at working with teams, which is like insane to me because I've only ever worked in a team. I did gymnastics, but that's still like to an extent a team sport. Um, excuse me. So I just think that when it is my time to go on to whatever I do next, I think that I bring a unique perspective of how to play a role in a team and how to galvanize people around a goal and take actions that are guided towards that goal. Which I guess like in the experience that I've had with certain companies, it seems more of a difficult, like less natural position for them to be in.
But may I suggest that the lessons you've learned playing rugby will serve you for the rest of your life?
I hope
I
so. Yeah.
I had the opportunity to hire a lot of people and be involved with a lot of hiring decisions in television for a lot of years. And we never hired to a specific situation, let's say. So if I was asking interviewing questions and I need to hire somebody who's creative, driven, independent, those are the qualities I'm looking for. It's not necessarily just bullet points on a resume.
Yeah.
So think about the qualities that you possess now because of all of your team experience and going to the Olympics and everything that will follow now for the rest of your life. Those are things that shape and mold you and make you into the person you are. That's what an employer wants. And an
Mhm.
employer does want somebody who can function in a team. I'm surprised at how many people, to your point, don't know how to function within a team. So
Yeah.
you coming from a powerful team concept will serve you well for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I hope so.
I know so. Well, let's fast forward then and go right to the bronze medal match. It's you in Australia. What were you thinking as you're going into the second half of the match? You're down.
Yeah, I think being down against Australia is a place that we're familiar with, and we've come back from it before. So we kind of have like a never say die attitude, even if we are down. So really just working on the next job, looking at it as we would divide the game into quarters. So first quarter, even though it's halves in rugby, so first quarter is like first kickoff to 3 minutes, and then three to halftime. So really just this next quarter being the first half of the second half. We were just trying to get better ball movement, get a better quality of basic skills, catch pass, really hold down a wall on defense. And if they bend us, just trying not to break. We had a few things go our way and a few things not so much go our way, which, it all ebbs and flows in the game. It's all going to come out pretty evenly. We knew that they were probably going to kick deep on us if they scored late in the half, which ended up happening. They scored with, I think, like a minute and 26 left in the game. So we knew they were going to kick deep, try to pin us down there. That's basically a tactical decision that they're backing their defense and they trust their defense more than they are threatened by our attack. So that's a tactic you'll see with like New Zealand, France, Canada does it occasionally. So, that's something that we were prepared for, and we weren't surprised when they went deep on us at all. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's to talk about it back. It's literally just We
Well,
got
half
some
is so fast,
passes.
right?
Yeah. Well, we got some ball movement, and I was just trying to make it downfield over the line, and it worked out for me. And it's there's no like magic way that anything happens. It's just run straight. One of the basic principles of rugby: go forward.
What a concept, right? Go
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Always forward, never back. All right. So it's 7-12. You're under 20 seconds left. Now you've got the ball. You've lined up. Let's go to that magic moment. You ever gonna get tired of watching that?
Oh, I'm just more so afraid that other people are gonna get tired of seeing it. Like
Well,
I
no, I don't think I just watched it again now for the 488th time, and it still gets me. So it's again, you can't script those moments in sports. That's what sports is all about.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying like it is just like a fairy tale ending. Obviously we would have liked to have it in the gold medal match, but once you drop that semifinal, the next best you can do is rose gold, which we've been calling it lately.
Rose gold. I
Yeah,
see. That's the optimist. Rose gold.
yeah.
That is
But yeah,
awesome.
it was crazy. I was really surprised. I was like, please run fast, please legs, lungs, do like you already did the work, so just finish. But yeah,
Now,
it was
luckily, you played at altitude as a kid, so
yeah, true.
you had some good legs and some good lungs.
Yeah.
What was the thought? I mean, let's see. I've got it here. This happy shot. Oh, I called it elation.
Yeah.
What are you thinking there? I mean, not
Well,
thinking because there's no thoughts there. That's all heart. What are you feeling?
I just like I had been feeling really calm the entire week, and a lot of my teammates had like some really big nerves or like were feeling really stressed out. But I was just throughout the week, I was just like, it's the same game. Like we're playing the same game that we play year round. It's just on a different stage, and more people might be watching, but like the assignment is no different. The assignment is always like act on your values, try to win. That's it.
Describe this picture for me. All of you on the pitch together.
Oh, it's just a special moment for, the few girls that have done Rio and Tokyo and had not medaled yet. And then for that 2019 team to finish second on the World Series and have such a heartbreaking pandemic, kind of, heartbreaking for everyone, shut down the 2020 Olympics and have to wait an entire year when if it had been that summer, like who knows the special things that they could have done. The pandemic kind of threw a wrench in everyone's training, and that team went on in the next summer and dropped the quarterfinal to Great Britain, a team that was expected to be in medal contention. So really heartbreaking and kind of like an anticlimactic way for them to finish such a long buildup, not just a 4-year buildup for the Olympics, but a 5-year. I felt like that win was really for them to kind of heal in a way, I guess, from the Tokyo Olympics. And then for the 5 of us who are new Olympians, me, Sarah, Sammy, Elena, Steph, like that was just such a special moment for us too, because we knew how bad they had wanted it in 21, and we knew how bad we had wanted it this entire quad.
What did it feel like to stand on the medals platform and have the medal draped around your neck?
It was really special, and it was really heavy, and it's like chafing on my neck. I was like, "Oh my goodness,
Yeah, who designed this ribbon?
Yeah,
That's not
but yeah,
comfortable.
I was able to, be in the presence of family and friends and stuff, and I was standing on the podium, and I saw my husband and my parents and brothers and cousins, aunts and uncles, all my family, like,
Wow, you
standing
had a
in the
crowd.
stadium. Yeah,
You had
and
the whole
there was,
clan.
like, so many friends that had come out and just a lot of people just supporting our team, so it felt nice to be able to stand on a podium in front of them and kind of, like, not only a medal ceremony for us, but, like, kind of for everyone who supported us and the team behind the team.
That is amazing. The team behind the team. How real is that? I love that.
I
The
mean,
team behind the team. Tell me a little bit more about your team behind the team and what that meant to you.
my team behind the team, it definitely involves all of my family. My husband, most specifically, oh my God, there he is. He has made so many sacrifices to put us in a position so that we can even live here and so I could pursue this dream. we had gotten married, and I had gotten the offer, like, before we had been engaged, and I had gotten the offer, like, "Do you wanna move down to California and be a full-time, like, senior resident?" And it was no question for him. He was like, "Absolutely, we're doing this. Like, this is something that you've wanted for so long. There's no reason why it couldn't be me in Paris." He believed in me from the very beginning, so he's definitely put in, and our dog, of course, she doesn't know anything about rugby. She just tries to take my ball and run away with it. But yeah, it's definitely, it takes a village, and I have such a unique support system behind me. So it's just really special to not have to go through, this journey alone. I have my entire, like, my teammates that literally do everything that I'm doing with me, and then I get to come home and have these 2 as my support system, like, away from the jobs, which is amazing.
How often do you get to Utah? I know you were here a week ago Saturday for the Little Warriors event at Harriman
Yeah.
High School. How special is that? That's where you played.
Yeah, it was really cool. I think, my favorite part was getting to meet, one of the little girls who had on a Harriman jersey. She was decked out in the full kit, and I didn't even know they started them that young. I was shocked. I was like, "Oh my god, this little girl's, like, wearing my home team colors," and she's much younger than when I started. So, really cool to see the ball, getting thrown around by the younger generation, and hopefully that'll just create more depth for 2028.
It's interesting how you say rugby really isn't that known in Utah, but at our Warriors Fest over there at the America First Field for the last match, we did it there and we honored like 30 teams that
Oh,
were
wow.
either national champions. I mean, how many Highland High School teams were there that were
Uh, couldn't
national
tell ya.
champions in rugby?
Yeah.
What's crazy about it is Salt Lake City in Utah is really the epicenter of rugby in America, but yet it's still so small.
Yeah, I think it's because Salt Lake City is so small, and, they
Mm.
call it Small Lake City. Um, but yeah, I think, like, it's more of a concentrated, uh, kind of fan base and, like, community, whereas, like, California's so big. Rugby's big in California, but it's much bigger state. Oregon and Washington, I feel like, have big rugby communities as well. But yeah, Utah definitely has some amazing talent coming out of the state, and I feel like a lot of people overlook, like, our state in general. So to raise money for programs that could go on, like, players that could go on to lead national teams, and we got the 31 and 33 World Cup coming to the U.S. So hopefully we can get some players from Utah if they choose to pursue that dream to be on those teams.
Well, let's hope so. Share with us some life lessons then that rugby has taught you as you now look back on a spectacular career as a young high school player and then on Pan Am Games and the Olympics. How has your rugby experiences defined you?
Um, it's hard to say, but I think the one of the biggest lessons I learned is, like, you can't hate the entire time you're doing something and then expect to be happy with just the result. Because I think something that I put a lot of pressure on myself as when I first moved to San Diego was like, okay, I have to go to Paris or I'm never going to be happy. Like, this is what I moved here to do. So to make it on the team was already going to be one thing. But at the beginning of my time in California, it was a lot of pressure and a lot of kind of like fear of disappointing, which I still have. Like, I'm very motivated by not wanting to disappoint, like, family, friends, teammates, coaches, whatever. But I think that there's such an importance to being able to enjoy what you're doing every day because, like I said, the whole lead up to the Olympics, I was training full time for over 3 years. And if I'm unhappy that entire 3 years, like, what do I expect this 3-day competition to give me? Like, it can't give me back 3 years of times when I was unhappy chasing something. So, really having to shift my mindset towards, like, you have to enjoy the process, or the goal is never going to be enough. Even if we had gotten gold, like, it wouldn't have been worth, like, 3+ years of being, really unhappy and not enjoying what I'm doing. So definitely enjoying the journey. And then the other thing is, like, it's not a super, like, fairy tale thing to say, but, like, sometimes you can try your very best and it's still not going to be good enough. and you can put in the most effort that you've ever tried, and you can want it more than you've ever wanted anything, and it still might not happen. And that's why you need to surrender the outcome. And that's been like a big work on for me, is like I can't control the outcome. I can only control what I can do. I can't control what the other team is going to do. I can't control what my teammates are going to do. And just letting go and just letting your training kind of take over.
What advice would you give other young athletes, whether they're not even to high school yet, they're just playing little league sports, whatever that is, or they're embarking on their high school experience? Give some counsel now as you look back a few years. How could they approach that chapter of their life a little differently to get the best out of themselves and enjoy the experience? Same principles?
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff. And then I think for even like the younger generations, I think there's a lot of pressure on like, okay, you have to be the best on the team in order to be recruited for like next thing. So like if it's a traveling side, you want to play on a college team, PR sevens, a national team call up, whatever it is. And I think something that sometimes goes underrated is like find a way to make your teammates look good and be basically, if you're not good at anything else, be good at being a great teammate and
Mm.
working hard, because those things take no talent per se, more so just like mindset, drive. And if you're like, say you don't have the best pass, you don't have the best tackle, but if you're able to support your teammates, and whether that's like literally with a support line or just like uplifting people around you, people are going to want you on their team. And like that's something that I wish that I had learned when I was younger, just because I put so much pressure on myself to like, okay, I have to be the best on this team. Whereas like I wish I had, had experiences where I was younger when I would have chosen like some more team play and just to be like more involved in that type of stuff than being so focused on like what I had to do.
How important is that collective team? And when it's not your moment to shine, you're a good cheerleader, you're a good teammate, because
I
that
mean,
translates into business and the rest of life as well. We're in
yeah.
this together. We're in this human race together.
Yeah, I think that, as long as everyone on the team has a team first mentality, then no matter what happens, like, even if you're not selected or even if you didn't get subbed in that game, there's still gonna be, like, a love and a connection for the entire team because you want the team to do well. And there's been times when, like, I didn't get a lot of playing time, but I could not have been happier for the girls who had gone out and completely smashed it. And there's just, like, such like, a dichotomy of feeling almost, because like I've been left off of rosters where I was like super heartbroken not to make, but at the same time you feel like such joy and pride for the girls that had done it. So like allowing yourself to basically feel both emotions.
What's next for you and Keagan? What's
We
the dream? What are the goals? Where do you go from here?
um right now we're just like trying to, soak in everything that has been this summer. It's been again such a long build up for both of us because he has been going through this like pretty much just as much as I have. So we're just trying to enjoy some time together right now and take a trip. My little brother is getting married. We're gonna go to the wedding and basically just try to relax and recover from like such a high stress, like high pressure environment.
And then what's the dream for your life? Is there life
The
after rugby?
dream,
What does that look like? What's the dream?
the dream consists of a lot of a time with Keegan and Zep,
Zep.
and
I like it.
yeah, Zeplin, and just finding something that can be fulfilling and that we can be happy doing together. I can't play rugby with him, but no matter what it is, just trying to find something together that we both love and that we can do.
Do you have any other aspirations outside of rugby? Any other big interests that might motivate you towards a future in something?
I think that I would love to have like real estate properties. That would be amazing. I took my real estate, like the California state real estate tests and stuff, and passed all those. And that was an interest of mine early on. But before I had put it together that I can't work in the real estate industry and train full time and travel as much as I do. So real estate would be cool. I did a cohort with Salesforce. That was really interesting, the CRM. And at the moment, just trying to figure out like what the next thing is for us, because I don't feel a ton of pressure to get into it right away. I'm still enjoying like the things that the Olympics have given me. So yeah, just something, traveling, hanging out, Mario Kart, cooking. I don't know.
Mario Kart and
Yeah,
cooking. And Zep can be there for both of those.
yeah. She's right here. She can just chill.
That's awesome. Spiff, it has been an absolute pleasure getting to know you better and experiencing your joy and your memories of the Olympics and your process and the journey that got you there. Thank you so much for being so gracious with your time and our viewers and listeners today.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me.
And tell Keagan thank you for all of his hard work in helping us put this together. We appreciate
I will,
him.
yeah.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
And to everyone on the broadcast today, remember, keep smiling, keep shining brightly, because someone out there needs to be guided by your light.